Hi everyone, it's Carla from Casey Creates, and I want to say hi and just do a couple things. One is I would like to do a little VR for Jeannie Dreemer. Hi Jeannie. This is an ACT card, or a Memorex card, I think is what they call it. It's just a decorated pretty little card that Jeannie's going to, having a challenge and asking everyone to mail in for her to keep everyone near and dear to her heart, because she'll be away from us for a little bit. So Jeannie, I made a card for you, and I'm sorry I forgot and already put it in the packaging, so forgive the glare. It's just all shabbied up and decorated the way I love, with vintage rose print paper and little paper rosebuds and satin rosebuds and some of the embroidery rosebud trim. And Jeannie's asking us to keep them no bigger than 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I think this one is just about 4 by 4, maybe a teeny bit bigger. So I had this larger. I had to cut it down and reshape it, re-embellish it a little bit, but it turned out fine. And then on the other side, let's just put my thumb over the information, but you just put your information, your colors, your style, your YouTube channel, and that kind of thing on the other side. So Jeannie, I will get this in the mail to you, and I hope you get tons and tons, and don't stay away too long. I wish you well and send you big hugs and lots of love, and I hope your challenge goes great. It's open, everyone, until I think she said August 20th, but you can run over to her channel and I will link it below so that you can get all the correct details. Okay, so that's my little card for Jeannie. And then last week, some of you know we've been packing and moving. We are officially all moved in, thank God. It was a bit of a back and forth, but we got it done. Some of you don't know I have 2 tall, strapping boys. They both played football, and one of them is hoping he still can. But anyway, they did all the heavy lifting, so we were able to get it done. And then one of those days I was just over it, and I sat down and I did a video and showed you guys some of the free printable crafting papers that I printed out. And then after printing, I think about 12 different sheets of paper, I decided if I don't do anything with them right away, they'd end up probably just getting filed away and never looked at again. So I motivated myself and I made a journal. So I wanted to come on today and show you my freebie printable papers that I turned into a very pretty journal. So this is the back. Oh, well, I'll show you the front, because one of my favorite ways to close off my journals is just with a floppy piece of shabby lace. So that's what I did on this one. And this is the front. And I've called this one Vintage Rose Journal. And the only paper that's not one of the free printables, well, some of it is on here, but this is a beautiful vintage napkin that I glued on. It's not really decoupaged on, but I glued it on, and it was from the sweet Edwina Kench. So thank you, Edwina. I've already put one of those beautiful napkins to use. And this one is about half the size of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So what would that be? 4 1/4 across by 10.5 down. No, 5.5. Yeah. Anyway, so I used seam binding to hold the journal together, and so this is what is hanging out on the spine. And I just decorated it with some pretty embroidered trim. And this image was a freebie that I printed onto tracing paper, and then I glued it onto the napkin. So I will go inside. So inside there's a beautiful picture, another one of those that I printed onto tracing paper. And I also had fun printing the little words and sentiments onto tracing paper. They seem more translucent and delicate that way when you glue them down. And then this, the seam binding kind of, when I tied it, I felt like I needed to cover the holes, so I put little reinforcement decorations on several of the inside seam. I don't know why I feel like I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to talk a little quieter. So this is one of the free printable papers, and I cut it so that there would be an overlapping pocket to put journaling paper in. So that's why that goes in there. And this is another one of the free printables. And then it just opens up for journaling space. And I made sure I didn't pack my sewing machine away too far so that I could stitch around, because I love to do that. I love to stitch around the edges of my tags and journaling spaces. And I stitched around the edges of each page. And I do love that it just says simpler times. And then this is my little fairy piece, because I love to add anything fairy whenever I can. And I love this image, and she's got a wand, and on the end of the wand I just put a little blingy heart and the word fairy again. And because I did it on tracing paper, it has that nice translucent look. And then this piece unties, and I love this really light, airy pink lace. And you just untie it and lift it up, and there you will find journaling space. And she's printed on tracing paper simply because I like the way that sounds. And it ties back up. It's a beautiful sunny day here, and we still have lots of unpacking to do, but I'm taking a little break. So the next page is really pretty vintage rose prints, and I just stuck down some tea-dyed stationery and then decoupaged a little rose embellishment, and then underneath is the word beautiful. And this paper is it's light enough that you could journal right on top of it. But that's and this is some really old vintage crocheted trim that a lady told me was made out of what they call tobacco twine. And then on the side here I have this pretty sateen kind of jacquard ribbon. And then the next page is sort of embellished with old catalog prints. And this is the one that's it's a common freebie that you can find online, but I really like this one. And I didn't over embellish it because I thought this is perfect space for journaling. But I did make that little overlap pocket. And then this one has a dress form or bodice form tag that I just stitched around and added seam binding. This is a tea-dyed envelope, and I decoupaged some of the advertisement onto it, and a pretty rose. And then inside, just put that little tab there so you can pull it out, and put some lined journaling cards inside. And that tucks down in there. And then the next page is another of this is all of the free printable paper, and I decoupaged the tracing paper images onto it, and it just says fancy, and she's posing in her beautiful attire. There's a little tag with scissors and thread and a thimble, and one with a button, high button little fancy boot. And this is more of that vintage tobacco twine trim on the edge. And then this one is sort of my little ode to high tea time, or tea time. And I love these these are lacy cut out cupcake wrappers, but I've been using them as little embellishments in my journals. And then under there is just a little tuck spot. I'll just show you this first. This really pretty embellishment. It's got a little bridal applique and a satin ribbon rose, and I just sewed around the word tea time and embellished this little corner tuck. And then this is that beautiful printable, and I decoupaged another black and white embellishment and the word tea. And this is just a card, and inside I put some avocado dyed paper. I don't know if the pink is showing up, but it's a really pretty pink. It matches this paper really well, and it will serve as a mini little notebook. I don't know how many pages are in here. Let's see. Enough to jot down a few thoughts, I guess. And there's a pretty little cherry blossom or apple blossom, some kind of little blossom plant on there. So that tucks there. This is the center of the journal, so I've got some seam binding here, and this page is one of the printables that I printed out, and this is actually not a part of this. This rose print is one that I printed out and decoupaged on, and it looks so much like this one. It's perfect. And then I did an altered paper clip with the word dream, and this is just some bridal applique that I cut up into bits, and I laid it onto a little piece of thin muslin to give it a little bit of a shabby look, and it just clips onto here. If I can get it back on. There we go. And I thought the center of this piece would be pretty for journaling and just random thoughts that you could jot down. And then the next page has these two really beautiful kind of wreath. This one reminds me sort of a garden trellis maybe. And it's got beautiful butterflies. I showed you this print last week, and so I've cut it out and just left the center for journaling, and then I put this pretty three-dimensional, I don't know if you can tell, but it's layered butterfly. This was a pack of 3D butterflies from K & Company, and then I put a little silk flower there. I thought that blended in really pretty with this kind of print. And then the next page has a big old crushed seam binding bow, and I put one of my favorite little embroidered embellishments, rosebud embellishments, inside, and then there's journaling space here and the word rose and some more of that pretty jacquard lace at the bottom. So there are those 2 pages. And then the next page, this is the back of a bulldog clip, but the main decoration is on the front. And I just took a really pretty piece of embellishment, lace embellishment, and then this is on a bulb pin with a little cameo, and it unclips like that. I think you can see it that way. And then when you unclip it, this is a flip, and you can open it and journal. So these 2 flowers weren't on the printable. I again just decoupaged some of the tape, the ones that I printed onto tracing paper, and it just flips over like that and makes for a pretty little page, and you can clip it right back on like that, and it goes like that. And then this is the other side of the fairy paper that I printed onto tracing paper. I don't know, these images are very familiar. This is a book that I ordered off of Amazon, and it's called A Junk Journal Vintage Fairy Themed Signature. So apparently you can use this as a signature or as an entire journal, but the images are very familiar to me, and once I got this, I wasn't really impressed with the quality of the images. It looks like it's been printed quite a few times. This one is really blurry, but it does kind of lend itself to that fairy kind of look because it's a little faint or blurry. I don't know what else to call it in a way that it will make it sound like it's okay. I can justify the lesser quality because it is fairy themed, I guess. So what I did was I found that all of these images are online and free for printing, and I have seen several of the crafters use these images, and I didn't see anything forbidding us for copying these, so I went ahead and copied this one and the first page that you saw, and I like just putting one little piece of bling for the fairy effect. But isn't that pretty? The floral, you know, little floral garden look. And then I just stuck a piece of grungy, I shouldn't say grungy, crinkly seam binding, a bow at the corner, just for texture. And underneath I put some of the really faint pretty pink lace. I trimmed a piece of tea-dyed paper, and then you can journal on this inside and on the back side, and then I just put another piece without the lace, and then you could also journal on the actual paper. So that's a nice little piece that flips up for journaling. And in a world where you can be anything, be kind. Oh boy, do we need that advice nowadays. I think especially everyone's getting over this isolation and lockdown, and I think everyone's a little irritable. So it's good to be reminded to be kind. Yeah, so this is the next page, and I really like this little dangle that I made. It's G. Kerr often has Freebie Friday, where she allows you to print out one of her digitals for free. She's on Facebook, and I think it's called Happiness in Crafting. Anyway, this was one of her freebies, and I absolutely loved this pattern. And so I cut out the little heart embellishments, and I made them into tags, and I put this little key, I can get it to lay right, and I put it on a bulb pen, and then I put this little strip of crocheted lace, and then a couple of the little rosebud embellishments, and a little saying pretty as a rose, and then you can see the really faint pink rose print pattern, and then this is the back of the little heart tags. I thought those are really pretty with this tag, and you can undo the bulb pin and move this around or use it somewhere else. And then the next page, which is the last page, is another one of the little cupcake holder embellishments, and I did put a shimmer of gold on there. It's probably not going to show up, and I finished it off with a little bit of trim here, and then inside there's this little cutout. This is actually a sticker, and I'm debating as to whether I'll just stick it onto the paper or keep it as a tuck piece that you could write on. For now, that's what it is. It's like a little tag. And then this is a tag I made up of a bunch of tags a while ago, and I thought that would be pretty tucked down in there. But I really love this. This was another of the free, well, they're all the free printables. And then if you can see, one of the pieces I used to cover up the little signature holes is this linen with baby little rosebuds on it, and I thought that would just help shabby it up a little bit more. And then the back page has another beautiful digital. It's got this nice warm yellow color with the tans and the golds, and I put in one of these pre-made Tim Holtz, or was this Gypsy? Anyway, this was one that I purchased this way. It already had the tea dyed look on it, and I just added a little bit of lace trim. And then this is more of that paper that was a free digital from G Kerr. I don't think G watches me, but thank you, G. That's so generous of you to do every Friday. And I just glued an image on there, the word dream, and a little butterfly, just to add more interest. And then this little button, did it glue itself? I think it did. Oops. Anyway, I put a little vintage button there, and it opens up, and inside there's paper, tea-dyed paper for journaling. I guess it's just one sheet, but I thought that was a real pretty one. Little faux envelope front and back, and I do love that image. Then this is a really wide belly band and a beautiful crocheted little floral embellishment, and there's a little acrylic rose that I put in the center, and of course my little eyelash trim that I like to tuck in here and there whenever I can, and it just tucks back down in there. So there's that, and some really pretty vintage trim on the edges. So this is my free printables journal, and I'm actually quite proud of myself for using these. I was just bored and wanting to feel like I was doing something crafty, so I printed out all of these papers, and I really had to use them quickly before they ended up just laying around and not getting used. And now I've ended up with a journal that I'm really happy with. So I hope you like it too. And the sun is now glaring in through the blinds. I thought keeping them closed would be better, but the sun has clearly moved. So I really appreciate you watching with me. Life has been kind of busy, but I don't want it to ever get so busy that I can't craft and make a video now and then. So there is my journal. So let me know what you think down in the comments. And again, I thank you for visiting with me. And I'll be back again probably in a few days and let you know what I've been up to. Okay, have a happy day. Bye.